Hello programmers. Today we are going to explore one of the most fundamental concepts in programming, variables. Think of variables as containers that hold data in your program. Understanding how to use variables effectively is crucial for writing good code. It might be Python code or any other code. Before we start, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do consider subscribing. That motivates me to create more such videos. Now let's get into the topic. What is a variable? In Python, a variable is a named location in the computer's memory that stores a value. It's like a labeled box where you can put things or data and retrieve them later by referring to the label or the variable name. Let's consider these two boxes as your variables. And these boxes can store things or data or can be anything. Let's say the box 1 is storing pen and box 2 is storing the number 5. So box 1 and box 2 are the variables and they store the data. The data is pen and the number 5. Creating variables in Python is simple. You just need to choose a name for your variable and use the assignment operator. So let me enter the Python shell, and now I am inside the Python shell. To create a variable, you just need to choose a name for the variable. The name can be item. Let's say that I am telling item equals pen. So item is going to be the variable and the value this variable item stores is pen. Now if you look at this box is basically the variable item and it is storing pen. Value pen is assigned to this variable item. You can also assign some other variable called age equals 25 and name equals Dinesh. So this is how we create variables in Python. So in these examples, the variables item, age and name are storing the values pen, 25 and Dinesh. So this is how we create variables in Python. So simple, right? So for accessing this variable, you just call the variable. So when you just say item, it will print the name of the item or the value inside the item, which is pen. If you call age, it will print 25. If you call name, it's going to print Dinesh. This is how we create variables in Python. Now let me try to create another variable and I would like to call that as at name and I'm calling it Ramesh. So it says that it fails with syntax error, invalid syntax. We get this error because we have some naming conventions or rules for creating variables in Python. So you definitely need to follow these naming conventions while creating the variables. They are variable names can contain letters, numbers and underscores. So when you create a variable, it can be name1 underscore. So it contains letters, number and underscore and equal to Suresh. If you call name1 underscore, it will print Suresh because the variable name1 contains the value Suresh, name1 underscore. So it can contains letters, numbers and underscore. And the other condition is they must start with a letter or an underscore. They can contain numbers, but they cannot start with numbers. Let us try creating a variable starting with number. I am calling a variable one name and I am assigning Suresh to this. So it again says that syntax invalid decimal literal. So meaning the variables must start with a letter or an underscore. Let us try to create a variable called underscore name and call it Dinesh and print underscore name. So variable can also start with underscore. And the other rule is that variables are case sensitive. So if we create three variables, one is age with all small letters and the other one is age with first letter capital and the complete capital age, these three will act as three different variables. Let's say I am creating age equals 25 and I am creating another variable with capital A, age equals 35, and I am creating another variable complete capitals age equals 40. So if you print age, you can see 25. If you print capital age, it will print 35, and if it is complete capitals, it will print 40. Meaning these three variables are treated differently by Python, meaning they are case sensitive, and they cannot be Python keywords like if, for, while, etc. We can talk about keywords in Python in a different video, but for now, let's assume that if, for, and while are keywords in Python, they cannot be used as variables. So if we create any variable name like if and if equals something like yes, so it will fail because it has a syntax error. So if cannot be used as a variable name. So in Python, keywords cannot be used as variable names. For a good variable names, so you can select variable names that are descriptive and follow Python's naming conventions. It's always advised to use lowercase letters and underscores for creating the variable names, like snake case. So this lowercase letters and separated by underscore is called snake case. Always choose the names that describe the data that they contain. So let's say you can choose something like username equal to John instead of typing x equal to John, y equal to 95, z equal to false. You can select username equal to John and total score equals 95 is game over is false. So like this, the variable names are descriptive and it is very easy to understand for other programmers. And in Python, variables are dynamically typed, meaning Python automatically determines the type based on the variable you assign, meaning you need not declare the type of variable you assign. Let's say that you are creating a variable and assigning a value 5 to it, x equals 5. Python dynamically determines that x is an integer. Let's see that I say x equal to 5, and if I just check type of x. So for checking the data type of any variable, you can just use type of that variable, type x. So it will say class of integer. And let's say you are creating the same variable again and you are now typing x equal to string 5. Now Python determines that this variable is now a string. Let's try that. So x equal to 5. So if you do this, if you now check type of x, so Python will determine that this is of class string. So based on the variable that you are assigning, Python will determine the type of this variable. Now if you do x equal to 5.0, now x will become a float. If you see type of x, it is now a floating point. So depending on the value that you are assigning to a variable, Python will automatically determine the type. So while this flexibility is convenient, it's generally a good practice to keep a variable's type consistent throughout your program to avoid confusion. And we will talk about the data types in the next video. Now let us see how do we use this variable. So once a variable is created, you can use that variable in your program. So for example, let's say that I say x equal to 5 and y equal to 6, and in my program I wanted to find the sum of x and y. I'll call it as sum equal to x plus y. So this is how you use variables in Python. So x is a variable, it holds the number 5. Y is a variable, it holds the number 6. When you do x plus y, the variables x and y will be replaced by numbers 5 and 6, which will be 11, and the 11 result will be assigned to sum. So now if I print this sum, it will print 11 because it is using the value inside this variable and then summing this up and assigning to another variable sum. You can also use string operations like, let's say I have first name Dinesh and I also have last name Verma, and maybe I wanted to find full name. Full name would be first name plus a space space plus last name. So when I call first name, it will be replaced by the value Dinesh and there is a space, and when I call last name, it will be replaced by the value Verma. So if I now print full name, so it print the full name which is calculated based on the first and last name as per this expression. So this is how we use variables in Python. So variables can also be used in conditions. So we talk more about conditions and all those things in the upcoming videos. But let's assume that you have a variable named age which is assigned value 20. So now I want to use a condition that if age greater than or equal to 18, then print adult. Otherwise print minor. Right? So I have assigned age with value 20, and if age is greater than or equal to 18, I am printing adult. If age is otherwise for any other values, it will print minor. Now as the age is 20 which is greater than or equal to 18, it should print adult basically. So variables can also be used like this. So if you just run this, it's going to print adult, so which is the correct answer that we are expecting. And now let's see how do we update variables in Python. So you can update the value of a variable at any time. Let's say that you have a counter and counter is 0. So if you just call counter now, so it will be 0. And now I wanted to update my counter variable. I will say counter equal to counter plus 1, meaning the counter will get replaced by value 0 and it will do plus 1. So 0 plus 1 is 1. The 1 will be reassigned to counter. So this is how a variable will get updated with new value in Python. So if you just to enter and now print counter, it will display 1. So earlier it displayed 0, now it has updated to 1, and you can also update it as counter plus equal to 1, meaning it will increment the counter by 1. So now as it is 1 now, it will become 2. So it's 2 now. So this is how we update variables in Python. And Python also allows you to assign values to multiple variables in a single line. Meaning, let's say that you have a variable x and you also have a variable y and you also have a variable z, and you would like to assign the number 1 to x, 2 to y and 3 to z. This is possible in Python. So the first variable will be assigned with the first value, second variable will be assigned with the second value, and the third variable will be assigned with the third value. So now if you print x, it will just print 1. If you print y, it will print 2. If you print z, it will print 3. So Python also allows assigning multiple variables in a single line. And Python also allows you to assign same value to the multiple variables at the same time. So let's say that you want to assign a number 10 to three variables a, b and c. So everything should be 10. So you can do that by saying a equal to b equal to c equal to 10. If you do this, all these three variables a, b and c will be assigned with a variable 10. So let me print a, it's 10. If I print b, it's also 10. If I print c, it will be also 10. Now let's talk about constants. So in Python, there is no built-in constant type, but by convention, we use all the capital letters for names of the variables that should be treated as constants. When you say pi equals 3.14159, so this will be treated as constant, and max players equal to 4, this will be also treated as constant. Any variable that you created with complete capital letters will be treated as constant, and you can still update the value of this constant. It will provide a signal to other programmers that these values are constants and should not be modified anywhere in the program. And coming to the scope of variables in Python, so the scope of variable refer to the part of the program where the variable is accessible. So we will dive deeper into this when we discuss functions and modules in Python. But for now, remember that variables that are created outside functions can be accessed throughout your program. These are called global variables. So if the variables are created outside the functions, not inside the functions. So if the variables are created outside the functions, they can be accessed throughout your program, even in the other functions within the same program, and these are called global variables. And if the variables are created inside functions and they can only be used within that function, they are called local variables. They cannot be used in other functions in the same program. And understanding variables is crucial as you begin your Python learning journey. So they form the foundation of data manipulation in your programs. So as you practice and write more code, working with variables will become second nature. So remember, choosing good variable names is an important part of writing a clear, readable code. Always strive to make your code easy to understand, both for others and for your future self. So happy coding and have fun experimenting with variables in Python.